Rav Ahuja, coming to you from the IBM Toronto lab once again. Pretty nice view outside. There's a highway behind those trees there. And our guinea pig for the day is Paul once again. Hi Paul, how you doing?
Hi Rav, good to see you again.
Nice shirt you got there. Alright Paul, one of the key requirements from our customers has been simplifying, auditing, and managing regulatory issues. Is there stuff in Viper 2 that can help our customers with these challenges?
Well, yeah, there's a number of things, and I think Tim mentioned them to you in his podcast, that are aimed at basically helping our customers reach and achieve and maintain security compliance or regulatory compliance. And he mentioned a number of things like trusted context, database roles, and auditing. And I guess we made a number of significant changes to our audit capabilities and affecting all parts of it. The organization, the audit, the granularity of audit, where the logs are located. Almost all aspects of audit have been affected. So there's been a number of changes in Viper 2.
All right. Can you tell us a bit more, elaborate on some of these new enhancements when it comes to auditing?
Sure. I think the biggest one, or the very first one you'll notice in Viper 2, is that we've actually gone and separated the auditing of the DB2 instance from the DB2 database. So now they are distinct audit capabilities, and you can now control the audit for each database differently than you control it for the instance as a whole. This means that you can set up different configuration settings, different audit settings for each database independently of each other. So within the database, what we've done is introduce the ability to set up the configuration uniquely using a thing called audit policies. We've also changed around what authorization you need in order to control and use audit. And today, audit is controlled through the DB2 audit executable by your sysadmin, the person holding the sysadmin authority. As of Viper 2, that capability is still there in terms of configuring the instance audit. It's also there in terms of extracting and archiving audit logs. But as of Viper 2, the security administrator, or the SecAdmin within the database, actually has control over what gets audited within the database, and they have access to be able to extract and access the audit information for that database as well. So we're introducing the ability to have the security administrator control and manage the audit for his database as well. So the net effect of all these changes is that you can now have different settings for the database, different than for each database, and different settings for the instance. And you can now assign responsibility for the audit of a particular database to a person that is not a system administrator and that has sort of complete control of audit within that database. The other thing I guess that's significant at this level is that the auditing of the database is independent of the auditing of the instance. So the system administrator can turn off the auditing of the instance, and that does not affect the auditing of the database. In fact, the only person who can affect that is a security administrator using one of those audit policies I mentioned earlier.
All right, so what are these audit policies?
Well, they're a great new feature in Viper 2, which give you a couple of things. One is, as I mentioned, they let you determine what the database audit configuration should be. They also let you set up different configurations within the same database, and you can apply those configurations, those audit settings, to different things. So, for example, you can audit a particular authorization ID, whether it's a user, a group, or a role. You can audit based on authority. Say, I want to audit anyone who has DB2 authority, and I want to audit them this way. And then finally, I guess the most interesting thing of all that is you can also audit a particular table. So you can say, here's this table. Anyone who touches this table, I wish to have an audit record telling me what they did and when they touched the table.
Sounds good. What other control does the security administrator have over audit in the database?
Well, in addition to controlling the actual configuration for that database, they also can access the audit log using these new stored procedures we've provided. The security administrator can archive the audit log, he can extract the audit log, and essentially he controls the audit information for that database, and he can access it to do his job.
Sounds good. So what is this archive that you mentioned? Sounds like something new.
Yeah, well, basically prior to Viper 2, the prune and extract operations were done against the active audit log, and the prune operation would delete rows from the audit log, and the extract information would bring information out and format it so you could read it. So when you start dealing with higher volumes and when you start dealing with the security compliance, the regulatory environment, where you actually want to keep these audit logs, you don't want to delete data, you actually want to keep it around for a long period of time, we needed to change the way we handled the audit log. So what we've done is we've changed the way we interact with the active audit log. We've basically removed the prune option, and now what happens is that the active audit log, you archive it. So that effectively makes a copy of the current active audit log and starts a new one. And then you, instead of extracting off the active audit log, you extract off the archive log. And the goal there is to try and have the minimum interaction with the active audit log, because that's what the database is writing to, and that's what's going to affect your performance, and have the operations such as extract, which are going to take their time and format the data for humans to view. That's going to be done on the archive log and not impact the performance of the system. So archive is really our way of trying to enable the retention of archive logs, and we've done a couple of things there to try and allow you to bring audit into your environment and archive the information so that you can use it for whatever security compliance you have.
All right, great. Sounds like a lot of major changes in the DB2 audit facility. Anything else that our listeners or viewers might be interested in?
Oh, I guess the last thing I mentioned is that we're adding some new information to the audit log, and the most interesting of which I think is the new category called the execute category. And that category is essentially there to capture detailed information about the actual SQL, the actual activities going on against the logs, and both for analysis but also to allow you to do replay in the future. And it allows you to capture information such as the statement text, the compilation environment, so you get the semantic correctness, as well as the input data values. So with that type of information, you can choose to capture, as I mentioned earlier, you have a sensitive table. You can say, I want to capture execute information for anyone who touches this table, and then you can replay or look into what they've actually touched when they ran that statement. And that's sort of the intent of the execute category.
Great. Thanks very much, Paul.
You're welcome. Anytime.